evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly virtual event. Now, before we dive in and get going, I just want to call out a couple things for y'all. First, our visual descriptor. Like I said, my name is Meg Alexander. I am a 37-year-old white woman. I have purple and pink hair, black glasses, and a black and white plaid shirt on. If you are just joining us and are super excited to get started, so are we. So I'm really encouraging y'all to join in, let us know that you're here. And I'm going to go over some quick housekeeping items. This will be, especially helpful if maybe this is your first event with Power to Fly. And if that's the case, then welcome. Now, the love is no less real for my frequent flyers out there. I love seeing our familiar names and faces and avatars in the chat. So thank you all so much for chiming in and joining us today. Now, I do want to encourage y'all to participate. The big thing to know about our virtual events is they are all about you and making sure that you get the value that you came to get from today's event. So you can participate in a couple different ways, and you can do so however you prefer. If you want to turn on your cameras, you are welcome to. I love seeing everybody's smiling faces. However, there's no pressure truly to be Instagram perfect. I washed my hair yesterday, so that was the first time in at least 5 days. So no need to be fancy, y'all. Bring us your messy buns, your bathrobes. We don't care if you're in a 3-piece suit or a ball gown or, just hanging out on your living room couch. We want to be there and meet you where you are. Now, you don't have to join in with your camera. You can always participate in the chat if you'd like. Audience members will not be able to come off mute during our session, but you will be able to keep the chat active. So I want to hear from y'all over there. I see my buddy Ria has started sharing stuff in the chat there. Feel free to chime in. Let us know where you're joining from. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So please feel free to let us know where you're joining us from. I'm always really eager to see how far the global audience spreads. And if you know, you're welcome to share whose land it is as well. Now, the big thing to know about today's event is that we are recording it. And what that means for you is you don't have to take notes. You get to sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversations that I'm going to be having with Wendy and Michelle today. Now, if you are curious or you are, let's say you missed a resource that someone listed, or maybe they cued you into a new podcast you want to listen to and you didn't jot it down, that's okay. If Michelle or Wendy says something just like mind-blowing in today's session and you cannot wait to share it with a friend or a coworker or a relative, you don't have to. So in about 4 to 5 business days, Power to Fly is going to email everyone with a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it on our website. Now, the website is awesome. I very much recommend you check it out. It's where the entire archive of all of our chat and learns live. So there's a huge wealth of resources there for you. But let's say you don't want to wait 4 to 5 days. You don't have to. You can head over to our YouTube channel. We are live streaming there right now. Hi, YouTube. And you can catch the recording. It's usually posted there within about 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the live stream. So much faster. There is a searchable amount of content stored there too. It's just not nearly as big as the major archives, the mother load that's on the website. So I definitely recommend you all check that out. Now, the other thing I want to encourage you to do is ask questions in the chat as well. If you want to dive in deeper on a question that we're talking about with one of our speakers, if there's an acronym or terminology you want to explain, maybe we are going over one of your questions that you submitted and we're not coming at it from the right angle. Maybe there's more context or details we should have. Let us know in the chat, all right? You all took time out of your day to be here with us live. We want to make sure we reward you for that. So ask your questions. That way we can maximize the value for today's time. All right, y'all, as we get going, before I introduce you to the speakers, I do want to remind you that they are here today on behalf of AbbVie. Now, AbbVie is a Power to Fly partner. I'm actually pulling up their website right now, or their company page. It looks much like what you're seeing in front of you right now. And I'm going to share the link with y'all in the chat thread here. There we go. So what you're seeing in front of you is AbbVie's company page on powertofly.com. So from here, you can get a lot of really great information. The overview will give you more info about AbbVie's company culture, sometimes benefits info and stuff like that is listed there. Events are going to show you past events that they've participated in like this. It'll also have registration pages if they have future events scheduled already. And then there's always the, obviously important and most referenced jobs tab on that page as well. So from there, you can search all of the available roles that AbbVie has posted with us and apply right from powertofly.com. Now, the other thing that I want to highlight for y'all is if you are potentially thinking that you might go into an interview with AbbVie or with somebody from AbbVie soon, I really recommend you check out the company page. Okay, there are great resources linked all over there. If they've had, like a ask the recruiter videos, blog posts, all kinds of stuff is stored there. So if you think you're going into an interview, I really recommend you check out the company page. Because it'll give you some great stuff to reference that's not the latest Business Insider article that everybody's been forwarding around LinkedIn. So just give you an inside scoop there, a little bit, kind of tricks of the trade and a way to utilize our tools a little bit better for yourself. The other thing here I want to encourage y'all to do is check out the follow network. All right, that's that big pink button up there. If you're not seeing it on a company page, it's because you're not logged in. So that's what if you're having issues, there you go. There's your troubleshoot. But what I encourage you to do is click that button. So tapping that follow button is going to do some great things for you. But what it does is it allows Power to Fly to tell AbbVie that you're already interested in working with them even before you fill out an application. So it's a really great idea if you're actively seeking, but don't see anything right now listed with AbbVie that like piques your interest that you'd love to apply for. The other thing it does is it allows Power to Fly to take some of the weight off of you in your job search because we tell you when companies that you follow have new roles posted. So that way you can not, save yourself some time, not have to keep going back and following and rechecking job boards. You can follow and unfollow as many times as you want, as many companies as you want. But obviously, I recommend that you take a peek at AbbVie's company page and learn a little bit more about them. Now, representing AbbVie today, we have two of their best and brightest. Wendy Clark is joining us. Wendy is currently the Vice President of Quality Assurance for AbbVie's MedTech region. Now, she provides leadership, strategy, and direction for the internal medical device manufacturing plants. Wendy's also passionate about her commitment to equity, equality, diversity, and inclusion, and serves as a sponsor on AbbVie's Operation EED&I Council. Now, through a collaborative partnership, the council aims to embed and amplify EED&I initiatives, elevate engagement, and drive business results through the business function globally within AbbVie. Wendy, welcome to the stage today. We're so happy to have you. Is there anything else that you want our audience members to know about you before we dive into questions today?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'm super excited to be here. And thank you everybody for joining. I'm actually based in Irvine, California. The land of no seasons, it's pretty much the same temperature all year round. I've been with AbbVie now, it'll be 10 years in March for me. And I joined AbbVie through acquisition. I was part of Allergan. Allergan was acquired by AbbVie, and that's how I got into AbbVie. And just a little bit about me personally, I am a mother of 5 kids. I have a stay-at-home husband that allows me to come to work and give my full attention to work when I need to, and I don't have to worry about those driving people to school and things like that. So that's a little bit about me.
I love that. I'm honestly amazed that with 5 children, you've not pulled every single hair out of your glorious mane there. But no, I absolutely love people that have house husbands. One of my husband's actually best man is a house husband now, and that was not a plan we would have thought about even 5 years ago. But truly, y'all,
I would have never imagined it.
Running up, yeah, yeah.
Great.
I love that. Thank you so much, Wendy, for joining us. All right, joining Wendy on stage is one of her coworkers, Michelle Hennigan. Now, Michelle is the API manufacturing manager at AbbVie's Manor Hamilton Road, road location in Sligo, I guess. I didn't ask you how to pronounce that. Apologies.
Yeah, perfect.
Now, in this role, Michelle is responsible for the leadership of the API operations team to manufacture high potent small molecule APIs from launch through early stage commercialization. Now, Michelle joined AbbVie in 2017, so not quite a 10-year tenure, but we're moving on up there. And from there, she's expanded from individual contributor roles within tech ops to a variety of leadership roles within those functions associated with OSD and API. Now, Michelle holds a doctorate of chemistry and a bachelor of science in chemistry from the University of Galway, Ireland. She's also a chartered chemist accredited by the Royal Society of Chemistry. Michelle, welcome to the stage. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Meg, for the introduction, and looking forward to connecting with everyone on this call with all your questions. So thank you so much for all your time and attendance. Again, I suppose from an overview perspective, API is active pharmaceutical ingredient. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, sorry.
You're
So
good.
API
I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, that's quite all right. API is active pharmaceutical ingredients, so the active substance that is present in formulations that work in our medicines. So very proud of the role I play in leading an operations team to deliver these medicines to the highest of safety and quality standards. And looking forward to giving you an insight to my career to date. From a personal perspective, like Wendy, who I happened to meet earlier this year, I am also a mother with a very supportive husband. And so having that support is wonderful to be able to progress professionally. And also delighted to have two wonderful children, a boy and a girl. And they have very Irish names. So very, very pleased and proud of my connection to my home country, Ireland. So that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing. And yes, y'all, I am loving the supportive husbands here because truly, if the role reversal does not function, it's because stuff's not equal. So I'm loving seeing more working moms with supportive husbands at home. Love it. All right, y'all, we are going to dive on into your questions. Now, like I said earlier, if you are here, you took time to be here with us live. We want to make sure that we reward you for that. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. Ask early, ask often. That is going to be the best way to make sure you have a good chance at getting your question answered today. And again, if you have follow-up questions, if you want us to dive in deeper on anything, again, just let us know in the chat. I'll have eyes on target there. And thank you so much for all the people that are weighing in. We've got people chiming in. Let's see, Sarah Vanan is here from India. We've got Ujwala, who's here from Boston, Indianapolis, Leesburg, Virginia, more Ohio. Awesome. Thank you so much, y'all. All right. So let's get started with our questions here. One of the first ones that I found really interesting for the subject matter. Do you have any strategies for people if they realize that their personal values don't necessarily align very well with the company's values, but like most of us, that person might not have the luxury of just saying, okay, great, I don't fit here anymore, I need to leave. So let's talk about this. If you think that your values don't necessarily align with the companies anymore, but leaving isn't an option, what would you recommend strategy-wise for that person to do? Wendy, would you like to start us?
Sure, that's a tough one because I don't think I've ever been in that situation in my career. I've always worked in medical device and pharma with a focus on patient safety, high quality. So and it's very much aligned with my values. But whenever I get into any other situation where I feel like there's lack of alignment, I always find something that I can connect with. Like it could just be like one thing that I can connect with. And that, it could be a person or a situation or anything like that. But just making that connection, I think, helps build a better, understanding and can build that bridge, I think. And just understand. And I call it your why. Like, why are you there? Like, what's because, you can basically choose like where you want to be. Like, why did you go there? And and just kind of reinforce that to yourself.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I've had a lot of jobs, the Joe jobs that just suck. And this has always been my go-to of like, all right, even if the long range planning, right? Like I have this soul shredding job because I need drinking money in college, right? So like, I think that's one of those things where I've always done this, where I've kind of like chosen or found one thing about the job that I actually like. And then that's kind of the thing that I focus on because like, I have to do this. We have to have drinking money, right? So, but that's the thing is like, if you can find something, I mean, truly, it's been something as simple as one of the jobs I had was in a factory and I got to use a chisel for part of the job. And they taught you how to sharpen your own chisel. And for a female child raised in the 80s and 90s who was not allowed to touch power tools, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so even though I hated working in a factory, I just talked constantly about the chisel. It was the chisel job. I love this. My chisel's super sharp. I went through 3 chisels in a summer because I was like so excited to sharpen them. So I love this advice, Wendy. Michelle, have you encountered this before? Have you ever been someplace and realized like, oh, my values don't really fit with this place anymore?
I haven't. Similar to Wendy, very proud of what I do from a technical perspective. and the impact it has on others. So Wendy said it so well. It's that connection to your why. Why are you here? What are you doing it for? And I think in every situation, if you have that clarity, that can sometimes get you through. And I think as well, it's important to bear in mind the process by which you do that. You can still do that being true to yourself, to your own personal standards, and still have the outcome that you desire. So be that maintaining your employment for however long you see fit. It is, appreciating the fact that you can take control of the situation and still be true to yourself, which I think is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all, if you've had this happen to you before, throw me a +1 in the chat if you have been someplace and realized like, oh, this does not fit with my values. And as we're talking about this, I'm realizing I have a much better example of this too. So let's talk about how you can stick to your values, especially if you work in kind of a toxic environment, or a situation where your values are constantly maybe being challenged. Michelle, do you want to start us here?
Yes, I'll try. So for me, it's about, understanding yourself, and your own personal standards. And when you're working through a situation where sometimes maybe you don't understand the other person's perspectives or the rationale as to how something is being performed in a certain manner, it's really important to I suppose, broaden your own perspectives to understand those. Perhaps you may have a bias, and it's important to really self-reflect and be aware of your own, I suppose, thinking and thoughts around a certain situation, and challenge yourself as well. Can you see it from the other person's perspective, from their shoes in relation to how they're progressing down a certain avenue? And I think what has always worked well for me in those situations is to have a conversation face to face with someone where possible, a one-on-one time, even virtually, just to understand, can you take me through that? I want to learn more. I want to understand why the situation is the way it is, why this process is the way it is. And maybe I can't accept and fully, appreciate why that is. At least I'll have a better understanding that can help, get the desired outcome from a team perspective. That would be my thoughts on it.
I like this. I also really appreciated when these questions were asked, people were talking about like personal values. And I think that when you're talking about like your personal values not aligning with the org anymore, I feel like a lot of times what they're talking about is in terms of like the end result, right? So like, or do you work for a company that's like a pro bono, or that's, it's what am I trying to think of? Nonprofit or something like that, what it is it you're working towards. But my husband actually just had this happen pretty recently, where kind of realized what the values are of the company, where like he's in manufacturing and trying to be more proactive about, how they take orders and when special like custom stuff comes through and all that kind of thing. And he's been kind of going around and around, only to realize, a couple months later, after conversations with C-levels and people all over the plant, that's not how they want to operate. They don't want to operate proactively. They want to operate on a reactive basis. The order comes in, then we'll worry about it. And so I think that it's really important we talk about not just your values of like, yeah, I don't want to pollute the planet. I want to be good for, women's rights, whatever it is. It doesn't necessarily just have to be values involved in the work itself. It can be the attitude that we take towards the business model even. So I think those are huge. And thank you to everybody that chimed in the chat, y'all. I hate that there are so many people that have been in this situation, but absolutely understand it. All right, let's talk about sacrifices. Okay, so there's always going to be situations where you want to uphold your boundaries or you want to uphold your values, but you might be between a rock and the hard place, right? I have had to shop at Walmart before when I really didn't want to. I have, there's always been times when people have done this. Have you made sacrifices in your career like that, either to, shorten your own career longevity because you're going to stay true to your values, or maybe times when you compromised your values and decided you wouldn't do that after that? Wendy, do you want to start us?
In terms of sacrifice, and I mean, when you said that, just I think a lot of times I sacrifice, me more than when any, being like a parent, being, like a supervisor. Like my people always come first before me. Like if there's an opportunity that comes up, that may, bring, visibility or something, I always, or training, I always think of my people first. It's just, very natural to me, I think. And same with, same with my kids, as well. I seem to come last, but I always think about the whole airplane scenario too. It's like, put your mask on first so you can take care of so I think it's really important for all of us to understand that how important it is to maintain your own like personal health and well-being, because you can't be there for your staff and you can't be there for your family, or if you don't take care of yourself, number one. And sometimes I forget that. So that's my message to you guys. Don't forget take that time out. That whole well-being thing is so important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Michelle, do you feel the same? Have there been times in your career when you either had to maybe sacrifice something to keep you to your values, or you've had to kind of bend your values a little bit for the situation?
So interestingly, there was quite a specific situation I was in early in my career where I had a difference of opinion in relation to how a project should be ran and how we would implement it on the floor. And I had far more senior people in the room giving me their opinion and sharing that they should that we should be proceeding onwards. I had concerns from a technical perspective, and as someone quite junior at that time in that company, I felt, gosh, I can just not do anything here. I can accept, the status quo and everyone else's opinion and continue onwards. However, we did have another production meeting later that day, and I went away thinking, you know what, I don't think I've convinced people enough in relation to the challenge that we have from technical perspective on this project. So I'm going to go into this meeting and I'm going to share why I think this is so important. And as it turned out, through being more intentional and being able to showcase my voice more and maybe go back and just re-strategize how I could share that message, I was able to influence and get the outcome that was right for the project at that time. As well as that had aligned with my own position on that. I was able to turn the wheel on that. So sometimes, I know we're talking about sacrifice. Sometimes it's about going back and trying to revisit, I suppose, certain situations and understand, well, how can I do better in that scenario? And that comes with time and that comes with experience. But that's something, I wasn't willing to compromise or sacrifice on because it was the right thing to do. And again, it goes back to, being strong in your personal values and finding that way forward to achieve that.
Yeah. And I think, as we're talking about this, we're talking in terms of like knowing your personal values. So a lot of that is like kind of work that has to be done on the front end, right? Because it would be much more confusing probably to arrive at a situation where you're like, oh, this kind of makes me feel a little squicky. I don't know why. Like, if you already know, at least to a certain extent, what your values are, then it's a lot easier to try and maintain them or make sure that you're checking back in with them. And Wendy, you made a really good point, which is kind of the thing that we tell people a lot, that like nobody else is going to care as much about you, your life, your career as you are. And that's okay, right? Because, you can't be expected to care more about someone else's career than they do. But I think it is really important that we remember, right? You are fueling an engine. What you put into it is what you get out of it. So you can't run on nothing or run on fumes for however long. You're eventually going to have to refill that tank or you're going to come to a stop. So I love this advice from y'all. Thank you. All right, let's talk in terms of the pharmaceutical industry. If you are transitioning in from a different career background, what advice do you have for people? Is there like a learning curve they should think of? Are there certain fields that transfer in that do particularly well? What can you tell us about people that transition into the pharmaceutical industry from somewhere else? Michelle, you want to start?
Sure. I would say be curious. So be really interested learning about what we do, the impacts we have on our patients, the amazing medicines that are now available thanks to really great science and really great technology. I think that's one really important attribute to have, to be curious. I think be open to collaboration. This is a team sport, and we're all in it together to learn what we can. And there's such a wonderful opportunity right now in pharmaceuticals. to utilize the skill sets across many other industries to bring us to the future of medicine. So when we think of digital dexterity and digital, familiar with digital, I suppose, digital tools. I'm not very digital myself. Once upon a time, I could code, but that would be something of immense benefit and value. Just being very specific on one specific skill set for pharmaceuticals. But I think being a very good communicator is very important too. And challenging the status quo as well. So yes, you may not have expertise or experience in that field, but bring something new to the table. You have different insights that can be shared. So I think those three attributes would be a great start for someone coming into the industry.
Yeah, excellent. I like those. Wendy, what advice would you have for someone if they've never worked in the pharmaceutical industry before but want to transition in? What should they know?
I love that. And I think you said part of it, Meg, and Michelle picked up the other. A lot of skills are transferable. So don't let that hold you back. Don't think, oh, I've never worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I've worked in, say, cosmetics or medical device. And, I don't think that I'll do well in this industry. The skills that you learned in those types of jobs are directly transferable. And AbbVie values big time diversity of thought and bringing in those ideas. So number one, don't let it hold you back, because you think that you won't be even accepted into the company. Number two, utilize everything that you've learned up to then in your arsenal and apply it to your new position. And also what Michelle said, voraciously learn about, take it all in as much as you can. And the opportunities are there, and people are willing to share their knowledge. They're willing to, bring you into their network. Just dig in and learn it. Because, chances are you're bringing something extra to that team now with the experience that you're bringing in.
Yeah, that right there. The things that set you apart that are like, oh, I don't have such and such because all the rest of them do. Granted, this doesn't work for things like if a degree is required or like they want you to be able to type and you've never seen a computer. But like, when you are talking about these things, you do have to think in terms of what is actually transferable and what is not. And think in terms of the fact that like people aren't born into the pharmaceutical industry, right? So it has to be learnable. There are ways you can, kind of get your feet under you and make sure that you are keeping up to speed. All right, let's talk about more of the climb, especially from having a technical background and then moving up into leadership. Michelle, I wanted to go to you first. What was that transition like for you? How did that look for you to climb from IC and move into management?
Sure. So with my background, very technical and had been over many different technical projects. However, that was probably the one stepping stone that did help me become a people leader, as I was leading projects, working with others, working as part of a team on site, working with teams off site across many different functions. And so I was getting exposure in terms of how to build relationships with peers and influence others where maybe I wouldn't have influence or seniority over. And so I think that was a critical point of success for me in my career in relation to how I could then step into the people management piece. When you move then into people management, it is certainly the most interesting aspect of the role I have found. And I first was a leader of technical people within the technical operations group. And then I transitioned to operations with teams that were getting bigger and bigger with different career aspirations. What I found, particularly being a people leader of technical people, I found the technical people really driven. They really knew what they wanted to do and had very high standards of performance. Whereas when you're in operations environment, that can vary. You've got a broad range of capability across the team. Some people who are very happy to come in and do their job, which is totally 100% fine. And then you have people who aspire to more and to progress onwards. So it was interesting to balance that as a people leader going into the future. So in my current role, I've been very very blessed to have a wonderful team who are very dedicated, very motivated. And I find that I'm learning from them more and more day in and day out in terms of the culture that we drive to have here in the Sligo site, to be the can-do site, to manufacture the medicine of the future and support that. So I greatly enjoy that. So looking back, it is that technical leadership piece that did stand to me, but being able to work with people and build relationships was critical to being successful to date.
Yeah, of course. Wendy, do you want to weigh in here? What has it been like for you to move up within the industry?
So I started working when I was in college because I had to pay for college, and I started in manufacturing. Very, very similar to you. I worked in the food industry and I was in the laboratory. So 6 months before I graduated, I got a job in the pharmaceutical industry by miracle, because typically they want you to have your degree first before you go in. But they took me because they knew I was, 1 semester away. So they took me in and I had the lab experience, and I was a tech level 1, like the lowest level you can be. So I was like decontaminating biohazardous waste and doing like all the jobs that nobody wanted to do, right? But I was just like thrilled to be there, believe me, to have like a lab coat. I was very proud of being in the lab, and I worked my way up steadily through the laboratory to like a lead laboratory to a lab supervisor. I literally hit every step. So as I became a supervisor and a manager, I knew the work because I'd been there myself. So it was extremely helpful. And one thing I can say is with each move that I made, I really felt like there was someone there that supported me, whether it be like a mentor or an advocate or a sponsor. I never did it 100% on my own. I really felt like there was someone there that believed in me almost more than I believed in myself, and that gave me those opportunities, as a leader. And I remember when I got my first site director job, my boss, who was going to be my future boss, came up to me and said, you don't have like all the skills we're looking for. We don't think you're really there yet. We've interviewed a ton of people outside, but we know you and we think you're capable. How would you like to give it a try? It was like one of those situations. And I'm like, do you think I'm going to say no? I'm going to say, heck yeah, I'll try it. And I just, again, just was passionate about the job and pleased to be there. And it just really started to happen for me at that point.
Excellent. I love hearing about it. And it's really kind of cool to look back on this, right? Because it's one of those things where like when you're in the middle of it, you kind of can't see the through line. You can't see the like, oh, this is going someplace and I'll use this stuff later. But yeah, being able to kind of take a look back and
100%
like,
right there. You don't see it until you look back and you realize, and then for me, it's been 30-year journey. So it's a long way back.
Oh yeah. All right, Michelle, I'm going to go to you first for this next question. This person had wanted to know, what qualities or skills do you consider crucial for success in pharmaceutical manufacturing, and how can one develop them if they don't already have it? So let's start us off. What do you think is crucial if you're going to be in pharmaceutical manufacturing?
I suppose I touched on it earlier, but that collaboration piece and being able to communicate with others is so important. To be different from that previous answer, I would say critical thinking. So, challenging assumptions, challenging the team's assumptions from a technical perspective and current status position, and understanding, I suppose, your processes really well. I'm really thinking technically from a pharmaceutical perspective, but understanding your systems, how they work together, how they integrate to ensure that we have safe and compliant products manufactured is very important. So that would be some examples. Let me think.
I very much like critical thinking, because that's not something everybody has, or it's not something everybody's like trained to develop, right? Is this idea of like not necessarily just asking questions, but asking, like you said earlier, having like curiosity, being curious, asking like more clarifying questions kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Wendy, do you agree with this? Do you think there are any skills that we haven't touched on that are really crucial for success in pharmaceutical manufacturing?
And I think there are skills, but they're also like behaviors. We work in a very high risk industry. People depend on us. They depend on us to provide them with high quality products that meet their requirements and that are delivered like when they need them, in the right quantity at the right time. So and I think Michelle said it, that attention to detail, that meticulous, nature in terms of making decisions, being comfortable making those decisions. Because, sometimes things are not black and white. We have to live within a gray area, and we have to make decisions based on risk. So it's really clearly understanding those risks and making good decisions in a timely way, I think. So, yeah, just kind of add to what you said, but also like from a behavior standpoint, I think you said it as well. It's collaboration with others. We're not individuals. We work as teams, building that strong network that supports you as well.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it really is. And I'm loving how much of the conversation we're having here. Listen up, y'all. These are soft skills that we're still talking about. Okay. So I hate that people call them soft skills. It feels pejorative to me, but truly, like, these are the things that you gain experience in, not just through work, right? We develop these skills just being a person who exists on the planet too. So yeah, I very much appreciate that, a lot of the skills that y'all consider crucial are not industry specific, really, right? This is not, these are not hard skills in that, like, oh, you need a certification from here, or you have to have gone to that boot camp or whatever. I think that's really interesting.
And I think it's about the behaviors piece there that Wendy shared. If you have the right attitude, you really can do anything. So I think that's really important. So we talked about, don't be put off applying for a role in the pharmaceutical industry if you don't have the experience. If you show yourself and you show that you've the right attitude, and you're a team player, you're good with people, you can go very far, absolutely, and really make a difference. And when we look at people who are joining AbbVie, yes, it's wonderful to have an amazing technical resume, but we want to see how that person is going to work with the company and how they're going to, bring their diverse experiences to the table to make us better for the future. So that's really, really important.
Absolutely. All right, Wendy, I want to talk to you first on this one. Do you have any insights into career growth within the industry? Do you think there are any keys to it? Anything that you have employed for yourself that's been particularly successful?
I have like continued my education. So I'm never satisfied. I'm never satisfied with my personal knowledge. I'm never satisfied with the work I do. I continually try to build and improve, and part of that is giving and receiving feedback. I want to know how I'm doing. I want to know, if I'm being effective. I got a bachelor's degree in biology, and I thought, I was the greatest thing in the world, right? I'm a scientist. I work in a micro lab. And what I didn't realize, and when we talked about the soft skills, is I really needed that a lot. So I went back and got an MBA like 10 years later. And I felt that even though I thought it's an easy degree, it's business, it's not like science, it brought me so much value to learn about like organizational behavior and the other aspects of the business. And I really do think it helped me like move to the next level. And then I found another gap in my knowledge. I'm like, you know what? I don't really have a, you know, deep understanding of the regulations that govern our business. We work in a regulated industry. So I went back to school again and I got a degree in regulatory science. So you know what I mean? It's just like a continuous learning mentality. That's what I would, you know, recommend for, you know, everyone. And you think like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to go back to school. I don't have time to, you know, go to a class or certification. Just start it, and before you know it, the time goes by and you're like looking at the end. That's what happened for me. I even had like a child, you know, multiple children in between this, and it all just, you know, happened. So that would be my advice.
I like that. I very much appreciate the advice to like just start the thing. Because you're right. I mean, the time's going to pass regardless. And obviously, you know, making allowances for people that, you know, that you have the resources and the, you know, all this kind of stuff, that it's not going to like cripple you financially to take this class. But like, yeah, you know, keep in mind that the time's going to pass regardless of what you're doing or not doing. So, you know, pulling the trigger might be the way that you kind of force yourself, give yourself the nudge. It's like how people talk about wanting to be brave. And it's like, no, you do the scary thing and then the courage comes after, which sucks, but sorry, this is how it works. So that's what you got to do. Michelle, how about you? I want to talk a little bit about career growth within the industry. Do you follow kind of the same path as Wendy? Have there been other avenues that you've utilized to kind of keep growing?
Yeah, I think you have to get uncomfortable before you get comfortable, right? So sometimes there are scenarios or projects that you are in at the time that can be very tough for different reasons. And I think it's so important to learn from those as well. There is the formal education piece. And I certainly have. I thought after my PhD, I'm never going near anything again. But I've become a qualified program manager. I've also done some financial courses. So learning around the business aspects, aside from the technical piece, to hopefully help me on my career journey as I progress. But the best tool I have found has been being in those scenarios and experiences day to day in work, and leading different programs and different investigations has really stood to me very well. And interestingly enough, I was asked recently by a group of interns here in AbbVie, you know, what team have you been most proud of to be part of? So I've been on this site for 7 years. However, I've been across 4 of our different manufacturing facilities on site. So what they were really asking me was, which team is your favorite? And when I look back, each team, we all went through a different challenge or a different opportunity that we had to work through under time pressure and pressure to ensure that we had products delivered to our patients. And I was proud of each experience uniquely, because though at times a challenge to work through from a personal perspective, amazing experience to get. And sometimes you have to look for those opportunities too, to get stuck in and involved in those types of projects, because sometimes they don't look very attractive from the outset. But when you're in there and you're working through it, you get such a sense of accomplishment. You're really working so closely with people as well, and you're really delivering and making an improvement. So I think that's something to bear in mind in any situation you're in. You know, sometimes you do have to take that step out of your comfort zone to get stuck in and learn something new. I think that's important.
Yes, completely agree. You have to be uncomfortable to, you know, find where you might be comfortable later on, because we don't value the one sensation without the other. So yeah, I loving these responses. Thank you both. All right, let's keep going here. We've got about 15 minutes left. So if you've got questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. I've been grabbing them as I saw them. But please feel free. It's still not out of time yet. So please feel free to submit your questions if you have any. Okay, this one is from later on. This person had asked, what does success mean to you personally, and how has that decision influenced your career choices? I like this one a lot. Michelle, you're nodding along. You want to start us?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think at this time of year, it's coming to year end and you're thinking about next year, you're reflecting on, you know, what the achievements of the past year have been. And for me, ever since I was young, I've always wanted to do something in science and really, you know, make a difference in treating people, you know, from different illnesses. I did originally want to be a pharmacist when I was in high school. However, I suppose the course I got in college was a science degree, a chemistry degree. And I realized, maybe pharmacy isn't for me, but gosh, I really love chemistry. And, being able to look at a process, make it better, make it more efficient, make it more safe, means we can deliver more product to our patients and ultimately bring down the cost of goods and make this medicine more accessible. So when I look at what success looks like for me, it's about delivering our medicine right first time to the highest safety and quality standards. And we're very fortunate in what we do in AbbVie. We launch a number of molecules every year that make a remarkable impact on people's lives. So I'm really proud of that. So that's what success looks like for me. I was very pleased last week. We had an internal compliance audit. And typically you go on tour and the area is inspected and you encounter pharmaceutical technicians on the floor. And the auditor talks to them about what they do every day and tell me what you're working on right now. And we've just started working on a very new exciting treatment for a neurodegenerative disease on site at the moment. And my pharmaceutical technician was able to say, this is the product we're making it. This is who we are making it for. And I was just blown away by them only working on the process for a matter of days, how they had taken the patient to their heart, and in what they were doing day in, day out. So I was very, very proud of that. So that is success for me, seeing that in my people and also for myself to see that impact on our patients.
No, I completely get it. And it really does. I mean, it obviously connects you to the why for sure. And I think that that's, a really, really excellent answer, because truly success looks different for everybody, and it's going to look different at like many stages of your career, right? I've been in positions where success looked like I still have a job next quarter. And I've been in positions where success looked like, oh, you're not going to be doing anything the way you were when you started, because now you know all of these things better. So, I think it is really important that we think about, what are we really aiming for, right? Are you just trying to make it past the finish line, or do you have points that you want to hit in the interim? And there's no wrong answer, y'all. Truly, like, nobody needs to dream of work. Okay, capitalism has us all under its wheel. However, knowing that we can't live on water and sunshine and we all got to have jobs, what can we do to make this suck a little bit less? Wendy, how about you? What does success look like to you personally, and how has that influenced your career choices?
And Michelle kind of stole my thunder there, and it's right there on her slide too about, making an impact. And I think that's because when I think of success, I think of like an outcome, like, what did I deliver? What did I bring to the table, or how did I make something better? But I also associate it with a feeling of accomplishment, like, myself. So really, it's about impacting lives, and it's not only the patients that we serve with our therapies, it's impacting colleagues, like how do we work together? It's impacting our communities. AbbVie has a huge presence, in their communities, and it's not only giving back financially, it's giving back with our volunteerism and time, and it's and, the resultant impact, on me in terms of how fulfilled I am. We spend most of our time at work, you guys. We like the majority of the time I spend with my colleagues like Michelle at work, and I get, very precious time, outside work with my family and friends and things like that. So it means a lot to do well at work and provide that impact, and it's a great feeling. So I think that's, for me, that feels like success.
I like that. And I truly, y'all, I really encourage you all for your own like well-being. Think about this. Even if you only set like a 5-minute timer on your phone, and just think about what would success look like to you? And you can put a shot clock on it, right? If I'm successful next year, it'll look like this. If I'm successful at 100, it'll look like this. And truly, even if you only spend 5 minutes on it, it's at least a little bit of time you've kind of got in your brain thinking about it. So it's that much more of a chance that you can kind of let that program run in the background while you think about other things. But truly, like these are not questions that anyone's going to come along and be like, hey, you have to ask yourself this today. So just let me be the voice that says like, hey, ask yourself this today. And then like, see where it gets you. I think this is important. Okay, we've got a little under 9 minutes till the end of the event. I have 2 questions that I want to make sure we get to. We might get to some more beyond that, but we'll see. This person had wanted to know, in your career path, would you say that it is better to be a jack of all trades or to become a subject matter expert in your particular path? All right, so this is going to be an it depends question, I'm sure of it, but what have you done and what have you seen others do? Have you tried to, keep your subject matter or your knowledge wide on an area, or have you dialed in real deep? Maybe this has changed over the course of your career. Wendy, do you want to start, and then Michelle will go to you?
Yeah, you know what? I used to be a subject matter expert, so I totally get that, and I loved it. I worked in microbiology, and then I brought the kind of sterilization engineering component into that, and I had various positions where I learned a variety of like sterilization modalities, and the organization saw me as like an expert, so anytime they had any question about any sort of like sterilization assurance question, they would come to me, and that was the time that I was approached to become like director of quality, which is a much different job. I was an individual contributor. I was an SME, and taking that leap for me was very scary, right? Because then I was going to be responsible for, over 200 people, and it was, I think it's just really, it's a personal decision what you like, or if you want to be an individual contributor, then the SME path is for you. You can become the expert that everybody goes to, and you can touch multiple groups, globally as that expert, whatever it may be, software validation, microbiology, equipment, validation, or whatever that may be. But if you want to be, my advice is, if you want to be a leader or a manager and have a broad scope, you're going to have to learn more. You're going to have to go more wide. And that's what my experience was. I had to let go. I had to let go of that SME title and that, which, I'm going to tell you, I did love it as part of my career, and I had to become more of that jack of all trades and have a wider breadth of experience.
Okay. Michelle, how about you? Have you done kind of both? Have you stuck to one area? Talk to us about this.
Yeah, so I suppose, yes, an SME to start with, from a very technical perspective in chemistry and process chemistry. However, I had the opportunity, I was on a graduate program with another company, and I had the opportunity to go to an area which I didn't think I wanted to go to. I didn't really want to. I want to stay in technical or stay in the plant. But it stood to me in the long run because I grew such an appreciation of that function and the requirements associated with that area. So for me, I found that I really enjoyed variety, and having that broader business knowledge stood to me in the long run. And especially when you're going through challenges or issues on plant, to have that broader knowledge really stands to you, because you can navigate out of a situation with full knowledge and awareness of the many different paths that you can take, as opposed to maybe just the one linear technical path that you may have only had previously. So I find, especially as Wendy shared there, if you wish to be a people leader and to progress onwards, it does certainly stand to you to have that breadth of knowledge.
I like it. Okay. All right, we've got one question left for our panelists here before we close out. But I do just want to highlight for y'all, if you are interested or if you're job seeking right now, we are having a virtual job fair on Thursday. So I just sent in the link in the chat thread where y'all can sign up for that. This virtual job fair is focusing on sales strategy, but if you are at all within the sales field, please feel free to take a look at this. And even if you're not within sales, you're still welcome to attend. It's just the stuff might be more geared towards sales roles, just FYI, y'all. Okay, my last question to each of you. Michelle, I'm going to come to you first. I want to know, what is the thing about AbbVie that you don't think you're going to find anywhere else, and so this is where you're sticking? You love it here because Taco Tuesdays in the lunchroom, or your awesome parking spot, or you love how they do all hands meetings. What is the thing that keeps you at AbbVie?
It's the people. The people are phenomenal. And the Wendy talked about the behaviors you have to have. The AbbVie culture is very strong, and it's all about making that remarkable impact to our patients. So we are relentlessly focused on achieving that for our patients and their families. And it's the people here that are so special that make it such a wonderful place to work. And every day, yes, based here in Sligo, it's a global operation with over by 24, 25 different operation sites. There's a great opportunity to learn every single day you come in, to be supported to do so, and to really work with truly wonderful people. So that's it for me. People is the number one thing here.
I love it. Wendy, how about you? What is the thing that you don't think you're going to find elsewhere that keeps you for almost 10 years at a single company?
Right. And since Michelle said people, I'm going to go with passion, in terms of, because it's people, passion, and possibilities. So everyone I work with understands the critical role they play in putting these products, and providing these products to our customers. And, a great example I have of this, we got through a COVID pandemic. A lot of people, were not able to go to work. They were sent home, but working in operations, working in manufacturing, I think the quote is like 87% of us were there at the office, at the manufacturing site, making it work so we can provide that product to our patients. So I think it's just the passion that I see here. I love the people. I love working with the people. I love the passion they bring to the job, and I love just the opportunities. You really can make it what you want it to be if you show the interest and the desire and the initiative. You can really do well at AbbVie, and I love that.
I like that too. I think that's excellent to know. All right, y'all, that is going to bring us to the end of our event time today. But I just want to highlight a couple things. Ria and I are sharing a bunch of links in the chat thread here to stuff you should be in the know about. So Ria shared another link to AbbVie's company page. It's going to look much like what you see on the slide in front of you. I just want to highlight again, in case y'all didn't catch it at the beginning, something called the Follow Network. So it's that big pink button. It says plus follow. If you're not seeing it, it's probably because you're not logged into the website. So just as FYI there. But the follow button does some great things for you. It allows Power to Fly to let you know when AbbVie posts new roles. So really excellent way to stay up to date without having to waste the brain space to come back and check job boards. The other thing it does is it allows Power to Fly to tell AbbVie that you're interested in working with them even before you fill out an application. So it is an excellent way to make sure that not only you are top of mind for them, but they stay top of mind for you. So that, you can try and give yourself the best possible shake. The other thing I do want to highlight again, y'all, is some of the resources that are available in these company pages. There are some really amazing things that you can see here, ways that you can get more info on the company, options. There's all kinds of resources and stuff that'll hopefully give you something different to talk about at your interview with AbbVie. So definitely take a look at that page, especially if anything that you've said about AbbVie today has kind of piqued your interest. Like Maria said, don't forget to follow them on their company page. You can follow and unfollow as many companies as you like, as many times as you'd like. We also shared links for the virtual job fair this weekend, or this coming week, as well as some of our events happening in the coming weeks. So whether this was your first Power to Fly event or your 1,000th, we're incredibly grateful that you spent time with us today. This is, you have a lot of options for networking and upskilling in events like this. And so we really appreciate you spending time with Power to Fly and AbbVie today. Now, I want y'all to pat yourselves on the back. You just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career. That is not easy in this day and age. So even if you're not a little treat person, I am. So pat yourself on the back, give yourself a cookie, gold star, whatever it takes. So thank you so much, y'all, for doing this. Obviously, I'm grateful because I have a job because you come to these events, but really, I'm really happy that you're doing this for yourself as well. All right, that is going to be the end of this event today. We've got some more happening later on today as well as tomorrow. So I hope that this will not be the last time that we see y'all. Have a nice afternoon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.